The crumpled $10 bill slid across the chipped Formica table, leaving a wet trail in its wake. Rain hammered against the windows of Rita's Corner Cafe like fists demanding entry. The neon sign outside flickered once, twice, then surrendered to darkness. It was 11:47 p.m., and Maya Chen's feet screamed with every step across the worn linoleum floor. "We're closing," Dale called from behind the counter, his voice sharp with impatience. He jabbed a finger toward the corner booth. "Get him out." Maya followed his gesture. The man sat hunched over a cup of black coffee, his peacoat soaked through, creating a small puddle beneath the table. His hands trembled as he raised the cup to his lips. "Sir," Maya approached slowly, the way you might approach a wounded animal. "I'm sorry, but we're about to close." The man looked up. His eyes were gray, clouded with something Maya couldn't quite name. Exhaustion? Resignation? He was in his 60s, she guessed, with silver stubble covering his jaw. "Just 5 more minutes," he said quietly. "Please." Dale appeared beside Maya, his arms crossed. "No. Out. Now." He leaned closer to Maya, his breath hot against her ear. "Probably hasn't showered in weeks. Bad for business." Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. The medication reminder. David needed his insulin before bed. She'd been on her feet for 16 hours across 3 shifts. Her rent was due in 4 days, and she was still $200 short. But she looked at the man's hands. They shook the same way her father's hands had shaken in his final days. "Dale, give us a minute." Maya's voice was steady despite the fatigue crushing her bones. "Maya, 1 minute." Dale stormed back to the counter, muttering about write-ups and final warnings. Maya slid into the booth across from the stranger. "When did you last eat?" The man blinked. I don't remember. Wait here." She disappeared into the kitchen and returned with a bowl of vegetable soup and a turkey sandwich. Her shift meal, the one small perk of working the graveyard run. She placed it in front of him. "I can't pay for this," the man said, his voice cracking. He pushed the $10 bill toward her. "This is all I have." Maya pushed it back. "Then keep it." She stood, glancing toward the radiator in the far corner. "That booth over there is warmer. Take your time." "Why?" The question stopped her. Maya turned. "Why what? Why are you being kind to me?" She thought about David at home, probably still awake, worried about her walking home in the rain. She thought about the eviction notice folded in her purse. She thought about how invisible she felt most days, just another waitress in a dying diner. "Because sometimes we all need someone to see us," she said simply. The man's eyes glistened. He opened his mouth, closed it, then whispered, "Thank you." Maya helped him move to the warmer booth. Dale appeared again, his face red. "That's coming out of your paycheck, Maya. The food and the extended hours." "I know. This is your second warning this month." "I know." The man ate slowly, deliberately, as if each bite were a small prayer. When he finished, he stood, nodded once to Maya, and walked out into the rain. The $10 bill remained on the table. Maya picked it up, smoothed it out, and dropped it into the donation jar by the register. The jar was labeled Harbor House Shelter in faded marker. Dale shook his head. "You're an idiot, Chen." Maybe she was. Maya locked up 40 minutes later and stepped into the rain. The bus wouldn't come for another 30 minutes. She pulled her thin jacket tighter and started walking. She didn't see the man watching from across the street, standing beneath an awning, studying her with an intensity that would have frightened her had she noticed. Robert Ashford waited until Maya disappeared around the corner. Then he pulled out his phone and dialed. "Judith, it's me." "Robert? It's nearly 1 in the morning. I need you to run a background check." Maya Lin Chen works at Rita's Corner Cafe on 5th and Madison. He paused, rain dripping from his soaked coat. "And Judith? I need to change my will." "Robert, we just finalized." "Change it. I'll explain everything tomorrow." He ended the call and looked down at his trembling hands. The doctors had given him 8 months. Stage 4, inoperable, spreading faster than they'd anticipated. He'd spent the last 3 months testing the world, walking through it without his name, without his power. Every door had closed. Every face had turned away, except hers. Robert pulled his coat tighter and walked toward the waiting car he'd parked 3 blocks away. His driver would be furious with him for the disappearing act. But tonight, for the first time in 30 years, Robert Ashford felt something close to hope. Not for himself. That ship had sailed. But for what he might leave behind. The penthouse stretched 40 feet from window to window. Glass walls revealing the city sprawled below like a circuit board of lights. Robert stood at the edge of his living room, still wearing the damp peacoat, and watched the rain streak down the glass. "Dad!" He turned. Cameron stood in the doorway, checking his Rolex. His son wore a tailored suit despite the late hour. Hair perfectly styled, face carefully neutral. "You're wet," Cameron observed. "Where were you?" Out. Out where?" "Jenkins said you dismissed the driver 6 hours ago. We've been calling. I needed air." Cameron's jaw tightened. "Dr. Morrison called. You missed your appointment." "Again? I don't need more appointments. They can't fix what's broken." "That's not the point." Cameron stepped closer, and Robert caught the familiar scent of expensive cologne. "The board needs stability. If word gets out that you're declining treatment, let them talk." "Dad, the merger with Pacific Holdings closes in 3 weeks. If you appear unstable, if there's any question about succession planning, is that all you care about?" Robert's voice was quiet. "Dangerous. The merger?" Cameron blinked. "Of course not. I care about you. We all do." Victoria wanted to come, but she's in Singapore closing the tan deal. She didn't call. She's busy. Too busy for her dying father. Silence filled the space between them like a third person. Cameron's phone buzzed. He glanced at it reflexively. "I should take this." "Of course you should." Cameron paused at the door. "We have the estate meeting tomorrow. 10 a.m. Judith will have the revised documents ready for signature. Tell Judith I'm making additional revisions." "What revisions?" "We spent 6 months. I'll discuss it with her directly." Cameron's eyes narrowed. "Dad, whatever you're thinking, please don't do anything rash. The family legacy." "Get out, Cameron." His son's face flushed. "Excuse me. You heard me. Go close your deals. Count your inheritance. Do whatever it is you do. Just leave." Cameron stood frozen for 3 heartbeats. Then he turned and walked out, his footsteps sharp against the marble floor. Robert waited until he heard the elevator doors close. Then he pulled out his leather journal and wrote, "Test number 1, Rita's Corner Cafe. Result, Maya Chen. Status passed." Below it, he added, "Test number 2, my own son. Result, Cameron Ashford. Status failed." The next morning, Judith Goldman arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, her briefcase heavy with documents. Robert met her in his study, looking more exhausted than she'd ever seen him. "Show me what you found," he said without preamble. Judith opened her tablet. Maya Lin Chun, age 38, divorced 3 years ago. Ex-husband, Thomas Chun, disappeared after the divorce. No child support, no contact. She has a 12-year-old son, David, diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Medical bills exceed $40,000. She works 3 jobs: waitress, grocery store clerk on weekends, and night cleaning crew at Harbor Medical Center. Robert's hands clenched. "Go on. No criminal record. Perfect credit until 2 years ago when the medical bill started. Currently 2 months behind on rent. Facing eviction." Judith looked up. "Robert, she's barely surviving. And yet she gave me her only meal." "What?" Robert told her about the diner. About Dale threatening to dock Maya's pay. About the soup and sandwich. About the donation jar. Judith listened, her expression carefully neutral. When he finished, she said, "Robert, you can't rewrite your entire estate plan because a waitress was kind to you." "Why not?" "Because your children will contest it. They'll claim diminished capacity, undue influence. They'll drag this woman through court for years. Let them try." "Robert, I've made my decision." He pulled out a handwritten document. "Here's what I want. Read it." Judith scanned the pages, her eyes widening with each paragraph. "This is... Robert, this will destroy your relationship with Cameron and Victoria." "What relationship?" Robert's laugh was bitter. "Cameron visits to discuss mergers. Victoria calls to ask about foundation board appointments. Neither of them asked about my pain levels. My prognosis. Whether I'm afraid." His voice cracked. They're already measuring the furniture. Judith, they're your children. No, they're my heirs. There's a difference. Judith set down the papers. If you do this, I need multiple safeguards. Mental competency evaluation. Video testament. Independent witnesses. Ironclad language. Whatever it takes. And you need to be prepared for war. Because that's what this will be. Robert walked to the window. Somewhere in the city below, Maya Chen was probably starting another shift, worrying about rent, about insulin, about keeping her son safe. Do you know what I've learned, Judith? In 63 years of life, in 4 decades of building wealth. He turned to face her. That character can't be bought. It can't be inherited. It can only be chosen moment by moment when no one's keeping score. Maya Chen was keeping score? That's exactly my point. She wasn't. Robert's eyes were clear now, purposeful. She had every reason to ignore me, to protect herself, to think of her own survival. And she chose kindness anyway. Judith was quiet for a long moment. Then she opened her briefcase. I'll need 3 weeks to structure this properly. You have too. Robert, I'm dying, Yujit. The doctors give me 8 months, but I can feel it accelerating. Every day I'm weaker. Every night the pain is worse. He sat down heavily. I need to do this while I still can. Judith nodded slowly. Then we'd better get started. Robert spent the next 6 weeks conducting his experiment with methodical precision. Each morning, he dressed in the same worn peacoat and scuffed shoes. Each day, he walked through a world that had once bowed before him. The Grandmont Hotel was first. Robert approached the golden revolving doors where he'd hosted countless business dinners. The doorman stepped in front of him. Sir, this establishment has standards. I'd like a room. The doorman's lip curled. Try the shelter on 9th Street. Robert didn't argue. He simply turned and walked away, making notes in his journal. At Basilico, the Italian restaurant his company partly owned, the hostess looked through him like glass. Reservation? No, but then I can't help you. She turned to the couple behind him, her smile suddenly radiant. Right this way, Mr. Harrison. Robert watched her lead them to a table. 3 months ago, that same woman had laughed at his jokes, had personally ensured his wine was perfect. Now she didn't recognize him. The worst came at his own corporate headquarters. Robert stood in the lobby of Ashford Industries, surrounded by walls bearing his name. Security approached. Employee entrance is around back. I'm not. Move along, buddy. Don't make me call the cops. Robert looked up at his own portrait hanging in the atrium. The man in that painting wore a $3,000 suit and a confident smile. The man standing below, it was invisible. He left without another word. That evening, Robert returned to Rita's Corner Cafe. Maya was wiping down tables, moving with the same tired grace he remembered. She looked up, and recognition flickered across her face. Coffee guy. Robert smiled. Is it okay if I sit? Course. She grabbed a pot. Black, right? You remember. I remember people. Maya poured his coffee, especially the quiet ones. Over the next 2 weeks, Robert came back for more times. Always late. Always alone. He learned about David's diabetes through overheard phone calls. About the eviction notice through Maya's hushed conversation with another waitress. About her ex-husband through the bitter comments she tried to suppress. And every time, Maya treated him with the same gentle dignity. You doing okay? She asked one night, setting down his coffee. You look tired. Just been thinking a lot. About. Robert studied her face. About what matters. What we leave behind. Maya sat down across from him, glancing toward Dale to make sure he wasn't watching. You got kids? 2. Then you're leaving behind more than you know. Her smile was sad. My boy David? He's everything. Some days I'm so tired I can barely think. But then he smiles at me, or tells me about something he learned, and I remember why I'm doing this. He's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one. Maya stood, grabbing her notepad. You want anything to eat? Dale's not looking. I'm Fina. Thank you, Maya. She paused. What do you know my name? Robert gestured to her name tag. It's right there. Right? Of course. She laughed. Long shift. Brain's not working. After she left, Robert pulled out his phone. He'd had Judith establish an anonymous charitable fund. That night, He arranged for Maya's landlord to receive a payment marked as emergency housing assistance. Not enough to be suspicious, just enough to stop the eviction. He also made a call to Harbor Medical Center's billing department. David Chen's account was flagged for insurance review, which would buy Maya 3 months of breathing room. Small interventions. Invisible help. She'd never know they came from him. Robert's final visit to the cafe came on a Thursday night. He was weaker now, the pain constant despite the medications. Maya noticed immediately. You okay? You're shaking. Just cold. She brought him soup without asking. Sat with him while he ate. Can I tell you something weird? Maya's voice was soft. Sometimes I think about how strange life is. How one moment can change everything. Like, what if I called in sick that first night you came in? What if someone else had been working? Would you have found another place? Would you be okay? Robert looked at her. Really looked at her. At the kindness carved into the lines around her eyes. At the strength in her tired smile. I would have found somewhere, he said. But I wouldn't have found this. Found what? Proof. Proof of what? Robert stood slowly, leaving a $20 bill on the table. That goodness still exists. Maya picked up the bill. This is too much. It's not nearly enough. He walked to the door, then turned back. Maya was watching him with concern. Thank you, Maya. For everything. Come back soon, okay? And maybe see a doctor. You really don't look well. Robert nodded but didn't promise. They both knew he wouldn't return. 3 weeks later, Robert lay in a private hospice room, the city lights twinkling beyond the window. Cameron had called twice, both times about the quarterly reports. Victoria had sent an assistant with flowers. Neither came in person. Judith sat beside his bed, holding the finalized documents. It's done, she said. Everything you asked for. The mental competency evaluation is filed. The video testament is recorded. 3 witnesses have signed. The trust structure is airtight. And Maya, protected. Her identity is sealed until the reading. Legal shields are in place. She'll have the best representation money can buy. Robert closed his eyes. Read me the primary clause one more time. Judith's voice was gentle. I, Robert James Ashford, being of sound mind and body, do hereby bequeath 60% of my liquid assets, totaling approximately $1.4 billion, to Maya Lin Chen, in recognition of character demonstrated without expectation of reward. Robert smiled. Perfect. They'll destroy her, Robert. You know that. No. His voice was firm despite his weakness. They'll try. But Maya? She's stronger than all of them combined. He died that night, alone except for the night nurse. His last words, whispered to empty air, were simply, thank you. Maya was stacking chairs when a black town car pulled up outside Rita's Corner Cafe. Through the window, she watched a woman in an expensive suit step out, briefcase in hand. Her first thought was immigration. Her second was police. Her third was David. She dropped the chair and ran outside, her heart hammering. What happened? Is my son okay? The woman stopped. Your son? No, nothing like that. Ms. Chen, I'm Judith Goldman. I'm an attorney. May we speak privately? Maya's hands were shaking. I didn't do anything wrong. I know. Please. This won't take long. They sat in a booth. Dale watched from behind the counter, suspicious. Judith opened her briefcase and pulled out a photograph. Do you recognize this man? Maya stared at the photo. It was Coffee Guy, but different. Clean-shaven, wearing a suit, standing in front of a corporate building. He looked powerful, important. That's Mr. Davies. He came here sometimes. Late nights. Always ordered black coffee. Maya looked up. Why? What's going on? His name wasn't Davies. It was Robert Ashford. The name meant nothing to Maya. Judith watched her face carefully, saw the genuine confusion. He was a billionaire, Ms. Chen. Real estate, technology investments. Net worth of $2.4 billion. Judith paused. He died 3 weeks ago. Maya's chest tightened. He's dead. Yes. But he was just here. I mean, not recently, but... She remembered his shaking hands. The exhaustion in his eyes. Was he sick? Cancer. He knew he was dying. Judith pulled out another document. Ms. Chen, Robert left you something in his will. Maya laughed, a sharp, disbelieving sound. That's impossible. I barely knew him. Nevertheless, Judith slid the paper across the table. You're the primary beneficiary of his estate. He left you $1.4 billion. The cafe spun. Maya gripped the edge of the table. That's not possible. That's not. I gave him soup. That's all. Just soup and coffee. I didn't ask for anything. I didn't even know who he was. I know. Then why? Judith's expression softened. Because you showed him kindness when he had nothing. Well, he was nobody. He spent months testing people, Ms. Chen. Everyone failed. Except you. Maya stood abruptly. I can't accept this. His family, they'll think I manipulated him. They'll think I'm some kind of... She couldn't finish. They're already thinking it. His children are contesting the will. The media will likely get involved. Judith stood as well. But Ms. Chen, the will is legally sound. Robert made sure of that. And he left you resources to fight. I don't want to fight. I just want to take care of my son. Then accept the inheritance. Take care of your son. And let me handle the rest. The media storm hit within 48 hours. Waitress cons dying billionaire. Ashford children contest suspicious will. Gold digger strikes again. Maya's photo, pulled from social media, grainy and unflattering, was everywhere. Reporters camped outside her apartment. Her phone rang constantly. David came home from school crying because kids were calling his mother a thief. Dale fired her. Bad publicity, he said, not meeting her eyes. You understand. Maya understood perfectly. She gave one statement through Judith. I showed a stranger kindness. I had no idea who he was. I don't fully understand why he did this, but I will honor his trust. Cameron Ashford appeared on morning television, his face carefully arranged in concerned grief. My father was vulnerable. Sick. This woman took advantage of him in his final months. We're pursuing every legal avenue to protect his true legacy. The interviewer leaned forward. Do you have evidence of manipulation? She's a waitress. He was a billionaire. What more evidence do you need? Victoria issued her own statement. Our father built an empire over 40 years. To see it handed to a stranger who served him coffee is beyond comprehension. This isn't about money. It's about preserving family legacy and protecting our father's memory from exploitation. Maya watched from Judith's office, David beside her. Mom, are you going to jail? No, baby. Are we going to be okay? Maya pulled him close. Yes, we're going to be okay. But she wasn't sure she believed it. The legal battle took 8 months. 8 months of depositions, character witnesses, media scrutiny. Cameron and Victoria spent millions trying to prove their father was incompetent, trying to prove Maya had manipulated him. They found nothing, because there was nothing to find. The judge's ruling was swift and final. The will stands. Robert Ashford was of sound mind. His decision, while unusual, was his to make. Cameron left the courthouse without speaking. Victoria's only comment was, "This isn't over." But it was. 1 year later, Maya sat in the same booth at Rita's Corner Cafe. The new owner, a woman named Sarah who'd once been a waitress herself, poured coffee without being asked. "How's David?" Sarah asked. "Good. Really good. His numbers have been stable for 6 months." Maya smiled. "We found an amazing endocrinologist. And the foundation? Growing. We paid off medical debt for 300 families so far. And the scholarship fund starts accepting applications next month." Sarah squeezed Maya's shoulder. Robert would be proud. Maya looked around the cafe. New paint, new tables, but the same heart. She'd bought the building when it was about to be demolished, kept it running as a community space. Fair wages for workers. Free meals for anyone who needed them. The photograph hung on the wall behind the counter. Robert in his peacoat, sitting in the corner booth, coffee cup raised slightly. Underneath, a small plaque, in memory of the quiet man who saw clearly. David slid into the booth across from her, backpack heavy with books. Ready to go. Almost. Maya pulled out a worn $10 bill, pressed flat, and preserved in a small frame. She carried it everywhere. "The money from that first night?" David asked. "Yeah. Why do you keep it?" Maya traced the edge of the frame. "Because it reminds me that the smallest gestures matter most. I didn't give him this money because I expected anything back. I gave it because it was right. And somehow, that changed everything. Do you miss him? Every day. I wish I could thank him. Tell him what his trust has meant. Maybe he knows. Maybe he did. Maya stood, leaving a generous tip for Sarah. As they walked to the door, David turned back. Mom, would you do it again? Give him the soup, knowing what would happen after. Maya didn't hesitate. Yes, every time, because that's not why I did it. Outside, the city hummed with evening traffic. Somewhere, families were struggling with medical bills Maya's foundation would soon pay. Somewhere, students were applying for scholarships that would change their lives. Somewhere, workers were earning fair wages in businesses Maya had quietly invested in. Small acts of kindness, multiplied by resources, creating waves of change. Robert had given her wealth, but Maya had given him something more valuable first. Proof that goodness existed without transaction. That character could be chosen in the smallest moments. And in the end, that was the inheritance that mattered most. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to see more stories about kindness and transformation. Comment below. Would you have given him a soup? And like this video to help spread the message that character is the currency that truly matters. Because sometimes the smallest gestures change everything.